Very good morning, all of you. Today we are going to see the remaining part of Unit 4, which covers two topics. Two topics are remaining in fourth unit. They are ensemble learning and dimensionality reduction. These two are the topics we need to discuss for today's class. Ensemble learning. So, what is ensemble? What is the meaning of ensemble? Ensemble, actually, it is a group of items viewed as a whole. A group of items viewed as a whole rather than individual. So it is a group. Ensemble is group. So ensemble learning is nothing but group learning. Ensemble methods are techniques that create multiple models and then combine them to produce improved results. So in ensemble techniques creates multiple models and combines them to produce the improved results. So in order to produce the improved result, we are going for the group learning, that is ensemble learning. The ensemble methods usually produces more accurate solutions than a single model. So it produces more accurate solutions. So accuracy will be there in ensemble learning. So in ensemble we need to understand bootstrap aggregating or bagging. It involves bootstrap aggregating or bagging. The bootstrap aggregating is also referred as bagging. So that bagging we are going to see. The bagging involves having each model in the ensemble vote with equal weight. So there will be equal weight of input data. In order to promote model variance, bagging trains each model in the ensemble using a randomly drawn subset of training set. So randomly we are taking the subset, that is from the training set, in order to promote the variance. So randomly we are taking the subset of the training set in order to promote the model variance. So the bagging is involved in promoting the model variance by taking the random subset of training set. As an example, the random forest algorithm combines random decision trees with bagging to achieve very high classification accuracy. So the random forest algorithm is combined with the bagging technique in order to achieve very high classification accuracy. So the accuracy will be very high if you combine the bagging with the model. In bagging, the samples are generated in such a way that the samples are different from each other, however replacement is allowed. So here the samples are different from each other. They are not same. The samples are not same. They are different from each other. So even though the replacement is allowed. Replacement. What is replacement? Replacement means that an instance can occur in multiple samples. An instance can occur in multiple samples multiple times, or it cannot occur in samples at all. So an instance can occur in multiple samples multiple times, or it cannot occur at all. So in that case, the bagging is involved. These samples are then given to multiple learners, and multiple learners, learner number 1, learner number 2, learner number 3, like that there will be learners. So these samples are given to the multiple learners, and then after that, after learning from the multiple learners, then the results from each learner are combined in the form of voting. So voting is involved here. So which learner is giving the highest accuracy result, that will be taken into account. Boosting. So we need to understand boosting also. Boosting involves incrementally building an ensemble model by training each new model instance to emphasize the training instances that previously models misclassified. In some cases, boosting has been shown to yield better accuracy than bagging. So boosting is a different kind of technique like bagging. So boosting has been shown to yield better accuracy than bagging. So boosting can also be involved in the modeling. When compared to bagging, this boosting will give better accuracy. The most common implementation of boosting is AdaBoost. So the boosting technique commonly used is AdaBoost. Although some newer algorithms are reported to achieve better results. So the most common is AdaBoost. In boosting, an equal weight, that is uniform probability distribution, equal weight having uniform probability distribution. An equal weight is given to the sample training data, which is called D1, at the very starting round. This data D1 is then given to a base learner. Already I referred multiple learners are involved. So it is given to, the basic data is given to the base learner. So the base learner is referred as L1. The misclassified instances by the learner L1, the base learner L1, are assigned a weight higher than the correctly classified instances. So the misclassified instances of the learner L1 will be having the higher weight than the correctly classified instances. But keeping in mind that the total probability distribution will be equal to 1. So this we know that the total probability distribution will be 1. This boosted data, that is D2, which is boosted, is then given to the second base learner. It is given to the second learner, the second learner is referred as L2, and then it is given to third learner, and so on. The results are then combined in the form of voting. So each the result from each learner will be taken, and voting will occur, and which learner will be giving the best result will be taken into account. Next topic is dimensionality reduction. Dimensionality reduction. So what is dimensionality? The number of input features, variables or columns present in a given data set. So the number of input features, variables or columns present in a given data set is known as dimensionality. The process to reduce these features is called dimensionality reduction. So a process is involved to reduce the number of features. That is called dimensionality reduction. It is a way of converting the higher dimensions data set into lesser dimensions. These techniques are widely used in machine learning for obtaining a better fit predictive model while solving the classification and regression problems. Why dimensionality reduction is required? A data set contains a huge number of input features in various cases. So, a data set contains huge number of input features, which makes the predictive modeling task complicated, more complicated. So, if it is complicated, then we cannot predict the model. So, that complication can be reduced by dimensionality reduction. So, once the complication is reduced, once the dimensionality is reduced, then the model can be predicted easily. Because it is very difficult to visualize or make predictions for training data set with high number of features, we are going for dimensionality reduction. Dimensionality reduction applications, where these dimensionality reduction techniques are applicable. The applications are speech recognition, signal processing, bioinformatics, data visualization, noise reduction, and cluster analysis. So this is the diagram for dimensionality reduction techniques. Generally we have two dimensionality reduction techniques. They are feature selection techniques and dimensionality reduction techniques. The feature selection techniques involves with missing value ratio, low variance filter, high correlation filter, random forest, backward feature extraction, forward feature extraction. So these are the feature selection dimensionality reduction techniques. And coming to dimensionality reduction techniques, they are again split into two: components factors based, components or factors based dimensionality reduction, and projection based dimensionality reduction. Coming to components or factors based dimensionality reduction, we have factor analysis technique, principal component analysis technique, independent component analysis technique. Coming to projection based dimensionality reduction, we have ISO map, TSNE, and UMAP techniques. Benefits of applying dimensionality reduction: by reducing the dimension of the features, the space required to store the data set also gets reduced. So during dimensionality reduction, the space required to store the data set is also reduced. So this is one benefit. Less computation training time is required for reduced dimensions of features. So computation training time will be very less in dimensionality reduction. Then coming to third one, reduced dimensions of features of the data set help in visualizing the data quickly. So we can visualize the data quickly and we can predict the model quickly. We can classify the model quickly. It removes the redundant features, that is duplicate features, if present in the model, by taking care of multi-collinearity. So it removes the duplicate features, redundant features. The dimensionality reduction removes the redundant features. Disadvantages of dimensionality reduction technique. Some data may be lost due to dimensionality reduction. So some data during reduction, some data may be lost. That is one disadvantage. Particularly in the principal component analysis dimensionality reduction technique, sometimes the principal components required to consider are unknown. So in the principal component analysis technique, which are the principal components used are unknown sometimes. This is one disadvantage. Approaches of dimensionality reduction. There are two approaches. One is feature selection and another one is feature extraction. Feature selection. The process of selecting the subset of the relevant features and leaving out the irrelevant features present in the data set to build a model of high accuracy is called feature selection. So selecting the subset of the relevant features and leaving out the irrelevant features, that is called feature selection. It is the way of selecting the optimal features from the input data set. Three methods are used for the feature selection. They are filters method, wrappers method and embedded method. Benefits of applying dimensionality reduction. By reducing the dimension of the features, the space required to store the data set also gets reduced. So during dimensionality reduction, the space required to store the data set is also reduced. So this is one benefit. Less computation training time is required for reduced dimensions of features. So computation training time will be very less. Then coming to wrappers method, it has the same goal of the filter method, but it takes a machine learning model for its evaluation. So in wrappers method, evaluation of the model is involved. Some features are fed to the machine learning model and evaluate the performance. Here the performance is evaluated in wrappers method. The performance decides whether to add those features or to remove those features in order to increase the accuracy of the model. So in the machine learning model, the performance is evaluated. So that performance, evaluated performance, decides whether to add those features or to remove those features. So if the performance decides to add those features, those features are added and the accuracy is increased. This method is more accurate than the filtering method but complex to work. So it is more accurate but complex to work with. Some common techniques of wrapper methods are forward selection, backward selection and bidirectional elimination. Now coming to third method, embedded method. It checks the different training iterations of the machine learning model. So different training iterations are checked here. Evaluate the importance of each feature. Some common techniques of embedded methods are lasso, elastic net, and ridge regression. Then coming to feature extraction, so far we have seen feature selection, now we are seeing feature extraction. The process of transforming the space containing many dimensions into space with fewer dimensions. Here the face is involved. The space is involved here. The process of transforming the space containing many dimensions into the space with fewer dimensions, like three-dimensional space can be converted to two-dimensional space. Two-dimensional space can be converted to single-dimensional space, like that. This approach is useful when we want to keep the whole information. So we cannot leave any information. So in that case, this approach will be useful, but use fewer resources while processing the information. It uses only fewer resources while processing the information. Some common feature extraction techniques are principal component analysis, linear discriminant analysis, kernel principal component analysis, quadratic discriminant analysis. So we are going to concentrate on two feature extraction techniques, which are principal component analysis and linear discriminant analysis. So principal component analysis, it is a statistical process that converts the observations of correlated features into a set of linearly uncorrelated features with the help of orthogonal transformation. So the correlated features are converted to a set of linearly uncorrelated features. These new transformed features are called the principal components. So the correlated features are converted to uncorrelated features. Those uncorrelated features are called principal components. It is one of the popular tools that is used for exploratory data analysis and predictive modeling. Principal component analysis works by considering the variance of each attribute, because the high attribute shows the good split between the classes, and hence it reduces the dimensionality. So in this principal component analysis, the variance of each attribute is considered. Principal component analysis applications: image processing, movie recommendation system, optimizing the power allocation in various communication channels. Linear discriminant analysis, it is a dimensionality reduction technique which is commonly used for the supervised classification problems. It is used for modeling differences in groups, that is separating two or more classes. It is used to project the features in higher dimension space into lower dimension space. For example, we have two classes and we need to separate them efficiently. Classes can have multiple features. Using only a single feature to classify them may result in some overlapping. So we cannot classify we cannot classify the data set by using a single feature. It will lead to overlapping. So this is called overlapping. See, only one feature is used here in order to classify the data. So in that overlapping occurs. That means see that the green circles and red circles, the one green circle is overlapped with the red color circle. So this is called overlapping. Suppose we have two sets of data points belonging to two different classes that we want to classify. So one diagram is given as shown in that given diagram. That is a two-dimensional graph which we will see in the next slide. When the data points are plotted on the 2D plane, there is no straight line that can separate the two classes of data points completely. Hence, in this case, the linear discriminant analysis is used, which reduces the 2D graph into 1D graph, that is two-dimensional graph into one-dimensional graph, in order to maximize the separability between the two classes. Principal component analysis applications: image processing, movie recommendation system, optimizing the power allocation in various communication channels. Linear discriminant analysis uses both the axes x and y to create a new axis and projects data onto a new axis in a way to maximize the separation of two categories. So hence two-dimensional graph is reduced to one-dimensional graph. Here two criteria are used by LDA to create a new axis. They are: maximize the distance between means of the two classes. So maximize the distance between the means of two classes. Minimize the variation within each class. So maximize the distance between means, minimize the variation. Here in this diagram, see the red line between the graph. In the middle of the graph, see the red line coming to the top of the diagram, top of the straight line. Take the top of the straight line. The x value is high. X value is high. That is, the distance between the means is increased, maximized. Coming to the red line bottom, the y value is less. That is, the variance is minimized. In the above graph, it can be seen that a new axis in red is generated and plotted in the 2D graph such that it maximizes the distance between the means of two classes and minimizes the variation. So it maximizes the means and minimizes the variation within each class. This newly generated axis increases the separation between the data points of the two classes. After generating this new axis using the above mentioned criteria, all the data points of the classes are plotted on this new axis. That is given here. See this, two-dimensional graph is converted to single-dimensional graph, and the black circles will come to one side and the green circle will come to another side. Now we can easily classify the data. So the green circled data points will be taken for one classification. The black circled side will be taken for another classification. So non-linear LDA, linear discriminant analysis fails when the mean of the distribution are shared. So when the mean value of the distributions are shared, then the LDA will be failed. So in that case we are going for non-linear LDA. It becomes impossible for LDA to find a new axis that makes both the classes linearly separable. So when the mean values of the distributions are shared, it is very difficult to make the prediction. That is, we cannot classify the classes linearly separable. In such cases we are going for non-linear LDA. Extensions to linear discriminant analysis. Quadratic discriminant analysis. Each class uses its own estimate of variance or covariance when there are multiple input variables. So this is called quadratic discriminant analysis. Then flexible discriminant analysis, where nonlinear combinations of inputs is used, such as splines, that is called FDA. Then coming to third one, regularized discriminant analysis. It introduces regularization into the estimate of the variance, actually the covariance, moderating the influence of different variables on LDA. LDA applications, linear discriminant analysis applications. So it is used in face recognition. The LDA is used in face recognition to reduce the number of features to a more manageable number before the process of classification. And coming to medical, this LDA is used to classify the patient disease state as mild, moderate or severe based upon the patient's various parameters and the medical treatment he is going through. This helps the doctors to intensify or reduce the pace of their treatment. And third one is customer identification. The third application is customer identification. To identify the type of customers which are most likely to buy a particular product in a shopping mall. So we are going to identify the type of customers who are buying a particular product in the shopping mall. So by doing a simple question and answers survey, we can gather all the features of the customers. The linear discriminant analysis will help us to identify and select the features which can describe the characteristics of the group of customers that are most likely to buy that particular product in the shopping mall. In this way, the customer is identified by using a linear discriminant analysis. So that's it. Within this, we are completing 4 units. Okay, thank you. The 5th unit we will see in the next class. Thank you very much.